So today I'm going to show you guys exactly how I shoot a cinematic sequence only using the Sony ZV-1. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm looking for when I get to a site and also my process. Check this out. So the first thing that I do whenever I get to the site where I'm shooting is I look for things that might be interesting and also what the viewer might be seeing if they went to the beach. Like for example, right now, this is like a perfect little pathway. It's got the trees and the sun shining through, and my first shot is always a wide angle shot so I can set the scene. Also, I have an old selfie stick that I'm gonna use to help me get some of those lower angle shots. So like I said, the first thing that I always like to do is set the scene. I have this beautiful pathway, and the way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna do a reveal shot. I have my camera set to 120 frames per second so I can slow it down in post. The way I get a reveal shot is I look down the pathway, I get focused in by using the autofocus. As soon as it's focused in on the path, I'll click it over to manual focus, and then I'll bring it in front of the tree like this, hold it with two hands. I like to put the screen at like the base of my thumb, and then I'll slowly reveal the pathway. Okay? And if you don't know how to set up your manual focus as a custom button, I made a video on how to do that, and I'll leave that in the description. Let's go get our second shot. So as I get a little bit deeper into the forest, I see these beautiful rays of sun coming through the trees. You can see it right up here, and then if you look down here on the ground, you can see these hot spots that are on the ground, and these are perfect for sun flares. So what I do is I'll turn my camera back to autofocus. Then I'll just hold the camera like this. I'll press record, and then I'll slowly pan it across that hot spot. And I'll do it a couple of different times just to make sure that I'm really getting the shot. Just like that. So before we go further down the path, I want to stop and go back to that tree that we used to reveal. And once I looked at it from a different angle, I saw how beautiful it was. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna point the camera upwards like this, making sure that the base is in the center of the frame. I'm gonna make sure that my exposure compensation is set to 0.0 or thereabouts. I'm gonna press on the record button, and then I'm just gonna pan it like this, which gives it a cool cinematic feel once you slow it down. All right, ready? Let's go. So the way that we're gonna proceed down the path is I set up the selfie stick on the ZV-1 so I can get a low angle shot of me walking. The way that I'm gonna do it is make sure my exposure compensation is set to 0.0. We're still shooting at 120 frames per second. I'm gonna go ahead and record. Then I'm gonna hold the selfie stick kind of back as far as I can go while I'm walking. So now that we have our selfie stick on, we're gonna use it for one more shot. We're gonna kind of get like this hovering effect over this log right here. And the way that I'm gonna do it is I'm going to zoom in with the ZV-1 as far as I can go. I'm gonna set it to autofocus until it focuses in as close as I can get it, right about there. I'm gonna change it to manual focus. I'm gonna press record, and then I'm gonna just hover it right over the log, just like this. That way the foreground is gonna be blurred out, the middle is going to be in focus, and then the background's gonna be blurred out. Of course, you take it a couple of times just to make sure you get the shot. Okay, good. One thing that I always do when I come out to shoot a cinematic B-roll is I want to get some close-up shots of things that you would see if you came to the beach. In this example, I saw this leaf right here which has some sun shining through, and one of the things you have to remember when you're shooting close-up B-roll with the ZV-1 is to go ahead and zoom in as far as it can go before it starts to get out of focus. Once I'm there, I'll go ahead and press the manual focus again. So now we're set to manual focus, and I'm about 12 inches away. I'm also going to use this leaf to get one of those cool reveal shots. So the way I'm gonna do it is go like this. And I'm actually kind of like doing a little twist as I go. But it's great. I'm getting a sun flare, and at the same time, I'm getting that leaf in focus, and then I'm spinning it around as I'm still getting a lot of that sun flare coming in and hitting the lens. So you always want to finalize your shots with some type of conclusion. In this case, I'm going to reveal the beach. Look at that little butterfly. Maybe I'll end it with that. But the way that we do it is I'm going to do the same thing that I did before, and there's like it's a nice guardrail right here, which will also help me to get one of those cool reveal shots. I know I love those reveal shots, but I just feel like it gives it that cinematic feel, and I love that. So now that we're in the direct sunlight to get this final shot, I'm gonna turn the ND filter on the ZV-1. After I'm done with that, I'm gonna push the aperture up until I can get that 0.0 on the exposure compensation. So now I'm gonna let the autofocus focus in on that beautiful ocean. Once it's focused in, I'm gonna go ahead and press the manual focus button, and then I'm gonna do my final shot. One thing that you always wanna keep in mind is that you're keeping your camera nice and level. All right, that's it. Let's go to post, and I'll show you exactly how I edit this shot. So as you can see, it's really not that hard to come out and to shoot B-roll, especially with the ZV-1. You just have to know what to look for, and you have to have a method and a process. And if you think about what people might see when they come to the beach, then that's like the perfect roadmap for you to get your perfect cinematic sequence. The ZV-1's also really nice to be able to use to do this stuff because it's light, it's got great image stabilization, and it can shoot 120 frames per second and maintain that really high quality image. All right guys, so here we are in Final Cut Pro. I shot all of those shots you saw in the cinematic sequence in Cine 2 because I've really been experimenting with picture profiles. So let me know what you guys think inside of the comments, how the colors turn out. So the first thing that I always do is I drag my clips into the timeline in the order that I shot them. So I'm gonna take the first clip, which was the reveal shot, and drag it into our timeline. Then I'm gonna take the playhead and I'm gonna move it forward about 3/4 of the way until I see this part where we actually were behind the tree. I'm gonna go ahead and push Option left bracket, which is gonna trim our clip to the beginning, and then I'm gonna drag forward ahead until we actually see the reveal, and I'm gonna go ahead and Option right click. Now I'm gonna go to the second clip and drag it in. I'm gonna take the playhead and drag it forward a little bit until I see that sun flare where that's perfect. I'm gonna press Command plus so I can get a little bit bigger of a timeline. Now I'm gonna take that playhead and drag it forward to maybe like right about there, right before the sun shines through it. And I'm gonna go ahead and press Option left bracket. Same thing, I'm gonna go forward until I'm just about where the sun flare disappears. I'll press Option right bracket. And this is the order that I take. I just go down the line and I take the best parts of each clip until I have a whole compilation of clips. After I'm done cutting up all of my clips, taking the best parts out, I start back at the beginning again, and that's where I put the music in and I edit it to the music. After I'm done editing it to the music, I start back at the beginning again and I color grade it. In the past, I've color graded clips that I ended up not even using, so I like to have an order of what I'm doing to try to save as much time as possible. All right, so I'm gonna stop right here. One of the things that I did when I shot this shot with the ZV-1 on the selfie stick is I had the ZV-1 flipped upside down. So we need to flip it upside down again so that we can see what it looks like straight up. So the way that I do that is I go up to the film icon, I come down to transform, and then I go to rotation, and I click on the 0 and I'll type in 180, enter, and that flips it upright. So now I'm gonna go along, and I think right there looks about good. So I'm gonna go Option left bracket, and I'm just gonna keep going down the line. All right, so there you go. I have all of the clips on the timeline, and I have the best parts of each clip. Now it's time to go back to the beginning and start editing to the music. But before we do that, we have to change the timing on all of these clips. Since all of these clips were shot in 120p, we're gonna slow them all down to 20%. And the easiest way to do that is to go ahead and click on one clip, hit Command A, come up to the little clock, go down to where it says automatic speed, and just click on it, and they all automatically go to 20%. So now that I have it at 20%, I'm gonna bring in my music, and then I'll be able to edit to that. So now I dragged my music into my timeline, and I'm ready to start editing to it. Just bring your playhead to the front of the timeline, press Option W, click on that little black box, I forget what it's called. Then you press Control D, which stands for the duration of the clip. I type in 1, so it changes it to 1 frame. Press enter. Now you can zoom in by pressing Command plus to the timeline, and you can drag your music clip onto that little black box. Now no matter what you do to that front end clip, it won't affect the music. Now we have our music set and it's time to start editing, but after we did a retime of the clips and we slowed them down to 20% so they could be in slow motion, we're gonna have to re-edit some of them and recut them up. So we're gonna bring the playhead forward until we get to right before the reveal happens. I'm gonna click on the clip, I'm gonna click on the clip and press Option left bracket. So here's what it would look like. So that's obviously too slow and we're gonna wanna speed that up a little bit. So the way we're gonna do that is we're gonna bring our playhead to where we want it to be slow. I think like right about here would be perfect for the slow motion to start. So I'm gonna click on the clip and then I'm gonna press Shift B, which breaks this clip into 2. I'm gonna press Command plus so I can zoom in a little bit closer to the timeline so I can see it better. I'm gonna go ahead and click on this side of the clip to where I see the yellow bounding box on the front end. I'm gonna click on that little clock again and I'm gonna go to normal. So it's gonna bring it to normal. So let's see what that looks like. Right there. All right, so I think that's fine. Now we're gonna time it out so it matches up with the music. Right there. So I'm gonna click on the clip, I'm gonna press Option right bracket, and now we're off to the next one. So we're gonna move our playhead forward until we start to see that sun come through. So I'm gonna press Option left bracket right there, and we're gonna push play and see how it looks. I think that looks perfect, and I stopped it right where I felt like it needed to be stopped, right on the beat. We're just gonna fast forward through the rest of these clips because you get the idea. So before we move on to color grading, there's a couple things that I wanna do with this final clip. First, I noticed that the ocean is not level with the horizon. So an easy way to fix that is you just click on it, come up to the little film icon, go to where it says rotation, and then just start dragging it down. I think that's about right. So about -2. Now I'm gonna go ahead and scale it up. The next thing that I wanna do is I noticed that when we were out there shooting, I had to crank the shutter speed up and I lost a lot of my colors because we were in direct sunlight. So the ocean almost turned like darkish blackish. And the way to fix that is you just go and click on the little color palette. Then you come over to where it says no corrections, click on the little down arrow, color board, click on the color mask right here, add the color mask. Not a lot of people know about this, by the way. This really helps me a lot. You go ahead and click inside the clip and you just drag over the ocean. Once you get to a portion of the ocean that it can't get anymore, you just hold down Shift and go to the other side. And you can do this with anything, t-shirts, tennis shoes. All right, so there we go. Now, pretty much everything in the ocean has been highlighted. So now we go to our color board, come over to color, and go ahead and just drag up the blue. And just like look how that changes the ocean color and the sky. So I'm gonna do a before and after. It's pretty impressive what that does. Helps it a lot. All right, so now we're done with the composition portion. All of our clips are edited to the beat. It's time to color grade. Now when I color grade Cine 2 footage, I do it the same exact way and in the same exact order. Every single clip has to be customized. You can't just color grade one of them and then copy and paste it to the rest because every single clip is different and different colors. The light hits all of the colors differently. But I'm just gonna show you how I do it on this first clip. So I go ahead and click on the clip, then I come up to the color palette, click where it says no corrections. I'm gonna do color wheels first. First thing I do is just push up the saturation a little bit, push down the shadows, up the highlights, and then the midtones, I either go up or down depending on where I am, but I think I'm gonna go down here so that it looks like that. Now, I wanna tell you something about color grading. The proper way to color grade is really to get it right in camera so that when you come to color grade, you just have to touch those levers. You don't wanna crank them ever because then your footage is gonna fall apart. So the best practice is always to get it right in camera so that when you come to color grade, you just have to do minimal color grading. So now we're gonna go to the color curves. I'm just gonna do like an S pattern on the Luma, but just barely touching it. I don't wanna go too crazy anywhere. Just kind of go like this, pop this up, be down. I'd say like right there. So now I'm gonna do a before and after with the color curves, and before and after with the color wheels. You can see quite a big difference. And then you just do that same thing, go through your entire timeline. Generally, to color grade something like this, it should take about 10 minutes. So it's not that big of a deal, and it really does make a big difference if you look at what Cine 2 footage looks like compared to straight out of camera. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, make sure to give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm Joe with Potter Made, and until the next one, peace.